Well, thank you, Jal. It's always lovely to have those kinds of energies, and this is one of my favorite songs. Yerushalayim Shel Za'av, Jerusalem of Gold, which we actually have in our the words of in our prayer book now. And so now that I heard Jal playing the music, I think we'll put it all together and have it as a song in one of our Shabbats coming up, especially because Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day, is coming in a couple months. So maybe we can have that song on that Shabbat. That was lovely. That brought me back. Let me say that. That brought me back. Um, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Welcome to our community. Welcome to this sacred space. Welcome to this moment. Welcome to this sanctuary online. I'm closing my eyes a little bit and inviting you to do the same, to invite different kinds of energy to step into, to watch our breath, just be mindful, just be aware of the aliveness that we are, the miracle of life that each of us embodies as we step fully into these energies of not just a day of rest, but as our tradition calls it, it's a Shabbat Vayinafash, a day of re-souling, of connecting with a deeper layer of our being. You know, we're so caught in the worries of ego. And we all know that there is something underneath it all, underneath the turmoil and the cacophony and all the noise of the world. We know that beneath the surface there is this quiet space within us that doesn't care at all about the drama unfolding all around us, aggressively making itself loud all around us. We know that underneath it all there is this still small voice of spirit that whispers in our ear to just let go of all of it, of all of that, and for just 24 hours to rest. To rest perhaps physically as well, but to rest in consciousness, away from the noise, away from the cascades of thoughts thundering always in our mind, that we might breathe more freely, that we might live more deeply, that we might enter into this space full-heartedly. Shabbat Shalom.
Haida, 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 haida.
Olivier, we cannot hear the music anymore.
There is no sound. Can't hear you.
There's no sound to the music?
We heard it for the first
Just now I heard
seconds
you.
or so.
Yeah, you were quiet for a minute and then you came back.
All right,
So
let's do it again. It's fine.
okay.
It's a gorgeous song.
It stopped
Let's see what
halfway through.
happens.
Hi-da, hi-da, hi-di-di-di-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-di-da, hi-da, hi-da,
Hi-da, hi-da,
hi-da,
hi-da,
hi-di-di-di-da, hi-da, hi-da, hi-da,
hi-da,
hi-da, hi-di-di-di-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-di-da, hi-da, hi-da, hi-da. Hi-da, hi-da, hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da. Hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, 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 hi-di-di-da-da, hi-da, hi-da, hi-da.
Okay. Good. I figured out what happened, so that's a good thing. This is a very special Shabbat. I know I say that probably every Shabbat, and you're right, because every Shabbat is a special Shabbat. But once a year, as members of an organization called HIAS, HIAS, which is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and Bet Aleph is a member of that organization, we dedicate this Shabbat to the work our community is doing. We have a committee very involved with matters of immigration, to the work that is done here, not just at Bet Aleph, but in the greater Jewish community as well, and in our nation as a whole. And that work is to bring justice to those still detained, still separated from their children, still treated as cattle living in detention centers in dire conditions. We haven't forgotten them. Our tradition calls upon us in the book of Deuteronomy to love the stranger, for you were strangers in a strange land, in the land of Egypt. The plight of every immigrant is our plight. Because we Jews have been strangers in strangers' lands for 2,000 years. All of us immigrants, no matter how many generations some of us came to this country, and I just arrived, we all come with an immigrant background. We all have traveled through our generations throughout the world. And how this country of ours treats its immigrant is how it treats its Jews. We know that in recent weeks some progress has been made, but we must not let our guard down. I just saw this past Wednesday Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, tweeting something that absolutely horrified me as I read it. He tweeted something that, to me, as a student of Jewish history, echoes of Nazi anti-Jewish propaganda when the Nazis depicted the Jews as propagators of disease. The day after revoking Texas's mandates to wear masks, he tweeted this horrendous lie. The Biden administration is recklessly releasing hundreds of illegal immigrants who have COVID into Texas communities, he wrote. The Biden administration must immediately end this callous act that exposes Texans and Americans to COVID. Not only echoes of Nazi propaganda depicting Jews as vermin and as propagator of disease, but also echoes of secessionism can even be heard in this Texans and Americans. This is a reminder that immigrants are still in grave danger, and we must not let up. So we dedicate this Shabbat to keeping in our heart, in our mind, and in the forefront of our actions this movement of liberation for all our brothers and sisters still in chain. And just as we must not let up in our support of children, immigrant or not, who experience great trauma, we continue these weeks with giving our tzedakah to an organization called Child Heaven, which partners with parents and community to strengthen families, prevent childhood trauma and its very damaging effects, and prepare those children for a lifetime of well-being. I urge you, after this Shabbat or during Shabbat, to go to our website, betalef.org, and I'm asking if Karen is on the call to have her post the link from our website to our donation page. Find that link, click through that link, and go to donate and scroll down to where it says type, and then choose there Shabbat and then tzedakah. We need to be in solidarity with all who are experiencing trauma right now. Thank you, Karen. If you can do that on our Facebook page also, that would be great. I just can't do it right now. And sharing of our tzedakah, of our abundance, of our heart, for the well-being of all, is only one part of our stepping into energies of Shabbat. The other is to kindle our Shabbat candles. And so I got my matches, I got my candles. I hope you have yours at home. And in line with our dedicating this Shabbat to immigrants, we chose a song that echoes some of that open-heartedness in Light a Candle. It's on page 24 in your prayer book. It's simply called Light a Candle.
לפעמים נדמה שאין תקווה עוד לא פרחו בגן ובשדה, ובערב רק מכר הרוח. אז בואו ונדליק ביחד light a candle, light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle, light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Sometimes it seems there is no comfort. The nights are long and hold no promise for tomorrow. But somewhere deep inside there burns a tiny flame. It can bring release to all our sorrows. So come together, each one bring your light, light. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light all the candles, let's light a candle everywhere. Just look at me and take my hand. The heart of love will glow again. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts.
So I hope you had the chance to light your candles. And as we all have kindled the lights of our Shabbat, a few of you have emailed the office to let us know actually what you are dedicating your Shabbat candles to tonight. Claire Petersky is lighting a candle to note 1 year of working from home. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This Shabbat a year ago was supposed to be our Purim Shabbat. And that's when we stopped because we clearly couldn't get 150 people in one room at the time. That would not have been a good idea. So Claire, thank you for reminding us. She's also celebrating her first jab of vaccine. Good for you. And she's saying, may we find ourselves able to connect together in person again, speedily and soon. Ken yehi ratzon. Amen, amen, amen. Linda Moldauer is also lighting candles tonight in honor and deep gratitude for the bakers and the hub of people who have facilitated the Hamantaschen Bakathon and have contributed to spread the joy of Purim just days ago. Tara Levin-Delson, Barry Ryan Thuneman, Ellen Lyons, Rochelle Gaither, Shelley Oakley, Shanna Goldman, Cindy Irvin, and also, of course, Karen Warner and Linda Moldauer herself. We are all grateful for all that you did, contributed, and supported for this this amazing outpouring of the heart to take place. At our staff meeting earlier this week, we celebrated you, and we prayed hard that we would never have to do it again, that we would all be together next year and have all of those delicious Hamantaschen at the Oneg to enjoy. I'm also hearing that we probably already have all we need for next year, as many were frozen still this year. Celia Kern is lighting candles tonight to acknowledge the bittersweet road that life has on us sometimes. She's grateful to the Beth Alef community for always being there during uncertain times, and we are so grateful to have you as well among us. We love you. Michael and Ellen Lyons are lighting candles tonight in honor of their 27th wedding anniversary, who was yesterday. Mazel Tov. And their 36 years of friendship. Oh, beautiful. Friendship, bliss at having found each other on their life journey. And they are also lighting a candle in blessed memory of Ellen's late cousin, Peter Lazar, whose second yahrzeit was February 28th. And Shelley Oakley, and I'm joining Shelley as well in this, is lighting a candle in memory of Asher Hashash, who made his transition March 1st. Some of you might have met him. He supported some of our events. One of the Shabbats that we did actually in the park a few years ago. He was there with his guitar. He was a really talented musician, but also a Jewish educator who gave of himself and his talent to all communities around Seattle. He was dedicated to sharing his love of Judaism, and especially with kids. He was a sweet and kind man. Anyone who's met him knows that, and he was a true mensch. Asher touched and was beloved by many, many of us in the Seattle area. May his name be always for blessing. The blessing is on page 1 of your prayer book. Traditionally, we cover our eyes to remind ourselves that the light we are kindling, light of memory, light of celebration, light of not knowing, light of expectations, is the light that we kindle within our hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. And we continue on this Shabbat with the worship part of our service together. We are on page 5, and Diana is going to lead us soon into the Baruch Hu after I say, and hopefully you do as well, in your home, the words of the call to blessing. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Bless the Eternal, the one who is blessing. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Blessed is the Eternal, the one who is blessing eternally. And Diana, you can do.
Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da ya da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da ya da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
And at the top of page 6, I will lead, and hopefully you are at home sharing with me the words of the Shema before Celia leads us into the singing of the blessing. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, the Eternal manifests as all that is. The Eternal is one. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is the name. The splendor of its presence shines eternally.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu
In just a second, we'll come back to Celia as she's going to lead us. We're not going to do the Ve'ahavta today. We haven't done that in a while, but Diana offered for this Shabbat that we turn to Debbie Friedman's and Thou Shalt Love. It's at the bottom of page 16 in your prayer book. Doing it in English allows us to spend a little time with that prayer, which is taken directly from the book of Deuteronomy. This invitation to love. I know it says, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God, which is not usually the way we word our relationship to the divine. We don't see the divine as lording over us. It comes actually directly from the word Adonai, which means my Lord. And sometimes I feel we should replace Adonai with Ahuvati. And Ahuvati in English means my love. I think this is a different kind of relationship that we would enter into with that which is everything. If we entered actually in practicing and thou shalt love, and thou shalt love, you shall love, because love is the divine. So we are on page 16, and Celia will lead us into the song.
And thou shalt love with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And all these words which I command thee on this day shall be in thy heart, shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that
Amen. Amen. Way to think quick on your feet and improvise. That was lovely. That was lovely. You're the best. Okay. We are on page 7, so you have to turn pages backwards now. We never follow the pages one after the other, so we're going to continue at the bottom of page 7 with Veshamro.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
Rabbi, you've once again gone, the videos.
We got quiet.
That was my fault.
Okay. Can we bring the sound back?
He still needs to unmute himself.
Olivier cannot hear.
Rabbi, you need to unmute.
I'm so sorry.
Olivier,
We cannot hear you.
we cannot hear Olivier. I wonder if he can hear us.
Rabbi, start it again, please.
He's on mute also. I think that might be part of the problem.
I'm asking him to unmute. He's in another space.
Yes, he is. Olivier, please.
It's the only problem with being a co-host is that we can't mute. We can mute him, but we can't unmute him.
I'm asking. There we go. Okay.
He must not be able to hear us.
I just sent him a direct message,
Okay.
but it looks like he's not in receipt mode, but
All right. I'll try again.
So you guys didn't hear anything I said to lead into the song, I'm guessing, because... Oh, you did? Okay, good. So somehow my computer muted me again in the middle of the song. What are you going to do? Sometimes inanimate objects are very much animated. Well, good. So it looks like things are working right now, so I'm going to move on. And I'm going to move on to our Dvar Torah for this Shabbat. There are two, I would say at least two Torah portions that, as I have said before, there are two Torah portions that render all the other Torah portions very jealous. We're just about to close the book of Exodus, and as we open Leviticus, we'll start finding a lot of these very jealous Torah portions who have very dry content, and for many of us, way too many animal sacrifices. However, Ki Tisa, this week's Torah portion, has everything. I mean, it's really not fair. It's not fair because we're getting into Leviticus, which is going to take us a good month and a half of dry Torah portions, and yet right here at the very end of Exodus, we get everything. We get the census of Israel, we get the naming of two of my favorite characters in Torah, Betzalel and Oholiav, to lead the construction of the tabernacle. We have the golden calf debacle. We also have Moses coming down from the mountain, from Mount Sinai, and shattering the first set of the tablets of the law. We have God appearing to Moses in the cleft of the rock. We have the proclaiming of the 13 attributes of God's mercy. And of course, we have Moses going back up the mountain, up Mount Sinai, to get the second set of the tablets. You name it, Ki Tisa has it all. Yet there is, with all this abundance, and sometimes it's overwhelming, as rabbis, we don't know which story to pick. We would like to bank them for, next month, Leviticus Torah portion, and say, I'm going to talk about Ki Tisa still, because we didn't have the time to open it all up. But with all of those opportunities to deep dive into this aspect or that aspect, there is one part that is often overlooked. And of course, if you know me, that is precisely what I want to look at more deeply this Shabbat. Let me set the stage. As the golden calf debacle, as I mentioned, is taking place at the foot of Mount Sinai, God says to Moses, who is still, meditating at the top of the mountain, God says to Moses, hurry down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have acted basely, have become corrupt. They have brought ruin on themselves. I have seen, God says, I have seen this is a stiff-necked people. Now let me be, that my anger may blaze forth against them, and that I may destroy them. Now there is a lot to be concerned about in God's declaration. A lot. Now notice first of all, and I know I insisted as I read the quote from the Torah, notice first of all that God tells Moses to hurry down because your people has misbehaved. The people that you brought out of Egypt. And you know what it reminded me? as I read that. It reminded me when my kids were little and misbehaved, as little kids do. I would turn to my wife and tell her that her kids were misbehaving, that bad things her kids were doing. I know we've all done that. It's like God and Moses, God and Moses have kids together. And in this scene that I described, they are dancing together through this bizarrely triangulated relationship. But God's ego trip doesn't end there. I love to say that. God's ego trip. God's ego trip doesn't end there. Clearly, he feels that the misbehavior of his kids reflects far too poorly on him. He makes it all mean that he is a failure as a parent, and that he would be all better if he could simply poof his children out of existence, pretend it never happened, and start over with Moses and his descendants. He actually goes so far as to tell Moses, Moses, I will make into a great nation, i.e. after I have wiped out our kids. But this is not about God and Moses and the children of Israel. This is about us. Because this scenario that is playing out in the Torah is very familiar to us, very much, in fact, universal. Because it's never so much what happens to us that matters, really. I mean, what happens, happens. It really is what we end up making it mean that counts. It is our interpretation of what happened and the conclusion we draw from it as to how it affects us or reflects on us that matters. I often find myself playing with that question when I'm being triggered, either positively or negatively. What do I make this mean? What do I make this mean? This that just happened, that is triggering me in good ways or in negative ways. What do I make this mean? What story am I telling, consciously, maybe unconsciously? What story am I telling about what just happened? What do I make it mean? Now, back to our text. You see Moses playing the other parent. He plays the other parent like rock solid, like magnificent. I mean, you can tell Moses knows God really well. Moses knows what buttons to push, what words to say to manipulate God. The Torah aptly says that in his reply to God, it says, and I quote, Moses soothed the face of God. It's a gorgeous expression. I love this expression. Moses soothed the face of God. I love this expression because I use that in all my meditations. Those of you who are doing meditations this 4 times a week with me every midday, you know that this is the way to enter into meditation. The way I practice entering into meditation through deep relaxation. And I always insist on releasing the stress and the tension around your body, but specifically around the belly and the face. The belly is often the seat of our emotions. And the face often reflects our mental state. The face reflects our mental state. I mean, we all know that expression, to have a poker face, right? To have a poker face. What does that mean, to have a poker face? Well, it's for those who mindfully practice, even though with the intent to deceive in poker, right? But they practice mindfully, not letting their face betray their state of mind, right? Because mind and face are deeply connected. And we know that because when we collapse into anger, like God in this case, what does our face do? We frown, we tense up, we clench our jaw. And so the Torah says, Moses soothed the face of God. And that is exactly what we practice in meditation to release the stranglehold of our thoughts. When we relax the face, we find that the monkey mind starts to slow down. But Moses is a smooth operator. Moses says to God, Moses asks God, for what reason should your anger blaze forth against your people who you brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Now, do you hear how Moses uses you against God now, turning the tables on him? And Moses masterfully continues and says, let not the Egyptians say it was with evil intent that he delivered them, only to kill them off in the mountains and annihilate them from the face of the earth. Because God was concerned about how his children's behavior would reflect poorly on him, Moses uses the very same concern, but this time if God follows through with his punishment. And you hear underneath all of that back and forth, all of that dialogue, here again this same question, what do I make this mean? That same question, what do I make this mean, gets activated. It gets activated through in the story, but for us as well, it gets activated through like God anticipating, making up a complete story about what others, in this case the Egyptians, what others will think of us. In God's case, in the story, what others will think of God. But we do that. We all do that. We make this mean because we are also making a story about what others will think of us. And mostly we do that because we project onto these others what we would think about ourselves if we were in their shoes, don't we? Now, look at the layers upon layers we have added to what happened. We are layers of thinking and imagining and setting expectations away from reality. And we do that all the time, don't we? We too, like God, fear or are concerned about what others might think of us. And that is only a projection of our own biases and our own shadow, knowing full well what we would think of them if the situation was reversed. And that does reflect poorly on us, doesn't it? Now, in our story, for sure, that is the conclusion Moses knew God would come to, going down the rabbit hole of Moses' argument about the Egyptians thinking poorly of God. But then there is an absolutely gorgeous moment in the Torah. Our text says, "And the Eternal consoled himself from the evil he had spoken of doing to his people." And the Eternal consoled himself from the evil he had spoken of doing to his people. Forgiveness. But notice how it is worded. The Eternal forgives his children by forgiving himself for collapsing into anger. It is this moment of self-awareness that is most oftentimes the most difficult part of this process for all of us. Acknowledging that we have let our "what do I make it mean about me" story take us over. That we have collapsed into conditioned levels of consciousness where our unmet expectations have activated dark emotional reactions. And acknowledging that, taking responsibility for that, which is so hard to do, brings about the awareness that allows for forgiveness. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. Now, this passage, by the way, this story that I decided to hone in on tonight because it gets ignored most of the time. This passage is for our rabbis the basis for the work of the High Holy Days. The mantra, if you'd like, the teaching is that if God forgave us our greatest sin, right, the golden calf, if God forgave us our greatest sin, who are we not to forgive others? And the rabbis go one step further. The episode of the golden calf was necessary. It was necessary because in that moment of anger and then forgiveness, God added a color in creation that did not exist until then. The possibility of forgiveness. It's like a yet unwritten 11th commandment, the 11th divine pronouncement. Thou shalt forgive one another as I, the Eternal One, forgives you. And that moment of divine forgiveness allows us to live in a universe where forgiveness is possible. It's like a completion of creation with that appearing of forgiveness on the stage of the universe. And it's possibly the greatest miracle of creation, that forgiveness is possible. And that possibility of forgiveness, of deep healing, it's in you. It's in you. And it's also on page 33 of your prayer book.
Keep singing that to yourself at home, like a drone, as I sing the melody. It's in you. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. It's in you. It's in me. Talk to every fiber of your being with your heart. strength. I am tired, but I'm listening. It's in me. The answer's in me. For God can be the courage to risk battling my brokenness. It's in me. The way is in me. And now Rafanala, 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 and now Rafanala. It's in you. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. Look inside yourself, talk inside yourself, be brave inside yourself, have faith within yourself. The strength is in yourself, the strength is in yourself, the strength is in yourself. It's in you. It's in you. Oh, it's in you.
I'd like to invite all of us into a few moments of silence, to close your eyes and to find your breath. And to practice what Moses did to God, to soothe your face. To practice for a few moments in the silence a deep relaxation. To deeply release and relax. Mindfully releasing any place of tension anywhere on the body. To let the belly rise and fall fully and freely. And to soothe your face by releasing every little muscle around your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth, your jaw. To relax the jaw, I find myself opening my mouth slightly until I find the right place of relaxation. It might not be the case for you. Keeping the mouth closed might be where you most relax, but just play with it. And then I personally let my tongue rest as well at the bottom of the mouth. It causes me to swallow from time to time, and that's what I do. I don't make it a story or a problem. Soothe your face tonight. And if you feel some tension coming up again, release again, relax again. There are layers and layers of relaxation. We can find more and more subtle energies to release and let go. And I invite you to continue this deep relaxation, this deep meditation, this healing meditation, when we are able to truly surrender into the moment, to truly rest in the healing that is possible now, when we soothe our face, when we soften the belly, when we drop the shoulders, and that healing that we might perhaps feel in this moment of deep releasing and relaxing. May that healing reverberate through the whole tapestry of the universe to which we are all connected. That this healing might find those we know tonight to yearn, to be yearning themselves to experience. Those you have inscribed on our healing list tonight. Craig Wilson, Danielle Clark, Hillary Wilson, Phyllis and Mike Levin, Yitzhak Leib Ben Bertha ve'Aharon, Dave Malkoff, Maxwell Bernard, Zana Davis, David Mark, Richard Aaron Ben Chaim, Martini Yani, Chris Mochel Werner, Marissa Alacabe, Pauline Morris, Elizabeth Heath, Katie Cordis, John Gorham, Janet Lewine, Marshall Whelan, Darcy Donegan, Liz Spiegel, Cynthia D'Andreano Dufek, Jerry Pettit, Susan Austin, Victoria Bialo, Mark Bialo, James Martus, Stanley Suffren, Wanda Zaman Suffren, Donald Meadow. We name in our hearts the names of all those we know to be in need of healing tonight. We share with them words that Moses spoke in an ancient wilderness, imploring for the healing of his sister Miriam. Ana Elna Refanala. Please God, let healing be now. And we have reached the concluding moments of our worship together tonight. We are on page 13, and we are about to share in the Mourner's Kaddish. We take a moment before we do so to open our hearts, all of us, to the memories of those we remember on this Shabbat. To hold them in our heart, to hold them in our mind's eye, and just to use these few moments to visit with them. It's just an opportunity. On this Shabbat, we hold in light of memory those who have made their transition in recent days and weeks. Judy Turan, Gerardo and Hannah's niece and founding member of Bet Aleph Warsaw. Daryl Summers, Diana's radio colleague and friend. Asher Hashash, Jewish educator and musician in the greater Seattle community. On the Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those who have made their transition in the past year. Charlotte Klein, Alberta Hitzroth, Avram Ben Moshe Veshendel, Marlene Klein, Mary Squeeze, Tim Schott, Janine Gilbert, Imogen Williams, Eldon Olson, Don Worms, Emily Swartz, Dr. Carol Stanley, Robert White, David Heitmiller, Dr. Aggie Schuler, Dr. Deho Schuler, Jerry Crouch, Jonathan Sachs, Fern Danker O'Connor, Gary Marmer, Lauren Lee. Somvang Sisemuth, Sari Lou Codden, Marco Antonio Florian Corona, Klaus Schuler, Bill Harris, Michael Ruff, Irvin Faludi, Rebecca Risman, Paul Ponton, Mark Montefusco, Mark Sinclair, Carol Cohen, Carl Robert Finkelstein. On the Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their transition, happens at this time of the year. Alan Charles Balch, Anthony Ballinson, Barbara Cuban, Cheryl Harris, Henry Zimmerman, Catherine Allwell, Ludwig Balin, Peter Lazar, Rose Morris, Wallace Oppenheimer, Eleanor Gerber. And in our hearts, we name the names of those we remember as well. And we share together in the Mourner's Kaddish. You can unmute yourself if you want to join me. God loves the chaos of prayer. God sorts them all out and knows the words. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Rabba Alma Yitgarach V'yamlit Malchut V'chayechon V'yom Echon V'chayei B'chol Beit Yisrael Agala,
Amen.
Karim, Vimru,
Amen.
Yehi Shemei Rabba, Rach Le'alam Uladme Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishbach v'yit'ar v'yitmam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yithalal shemei dikudshah b'rechu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya chayim aleinu ve'al Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
Osei Shalom Bimromav Uyasei
Shalom.
Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael
Israel.
ve'al Kol Yoshvei
Israel.
Tzivah V'imru Amen. May the
May
one
the
who
one who
creates
creates
harmony
harmony
for us,
above make
peace for us,
for
all the household of
Israel,
Israel,
for all the peoples of the world. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. And before we share in our Kiddush and our Motzi for this Shabbat, just a couple of announcements. We continue with our Beit Midrash tomorrow morning at 10:30, exploring the Guide of the Perplexed. And we are making headways. We are at least 20 pages in. So if you haven't joined us yet and you want, it's a drop in. We can catch you up. And you're welcome to meet us. Also, if you still are wanting to learn more about Hasidism, we only had one session yesterday, and there is still plenty of room on our Zoom call and many ways to catch up. I have recorded last night's session, so you could spend the Shabbat or the next few days catching up and joining us still. Registration remains open. You can just email the office and we'll add you and give you the Zoom code. Passover. I know. Passover is almost here. Just under 3 weeks, or about 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So it's time to register. We are unfortunately going to do the same as we did last year through our Zoom, but we created a beautiful space and we created a beautiful celebration, and we'll do that again this year. We needed to register so that we know how. There's so many pieces that we need to manage. Also, we are looking to match people for the first night of the Seder. It was all in our newsletter, so please refer to our newsletter for that. We are really hoping that everybody has a place to go if they so choose. For the first night, obviously, we'll be together for the second night. It's important to not leave people alone. And one of the things that has been a plague on us this past year, to use a Passover metaphor, has been loneliness. So please open your hearts and your Zoom rooms to each other for Passover. Kiddush cup, bottle of wine. It is time to fill your cup with wine and to join me in the Kiddush. I'm leaving the space unmuted so you can also join in the cacophony of the blessing. It's good to be in community and to hear all and each of us. If you so choose, you can mute yourself and just listen in if that's what you prefer. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei bri hakafel.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddush lanu b'mitzvah v'ratzavanu בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. Chaim. And now find a challah to cluster around. Here it is. You can touch the challah through your screen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Well, we'll see you all in whatever you choose to attend, in all the offerings that are ongoing through our community, the richness of what we continue to offer in those days, and praying that we might find each other soon in our sanctuary, that we might finally be able to hug one another. We'll close with a song for peace between us, a song for salam, for peace between peoples, for making salam, shalom, wholeness, and harmony between all peoples, that we might invite all those in need, like we say at Passover, all who are hungry, who are yearning for peace in our homes, at our Seder, and so should we with all the immigrants that are coming, who are hungry and yearning for peace and prosperity. May we welcome them as if we would welcome them at our Passover table. Ken Yehi Ratzon, we are on page 28.
Shalom Aleinu. Kavod Yavo Shalom Aleinu
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm going to end the recording for those of you who are, and the and the live streaming for those of you who are joining us tonight on Facebook, so that we can stay in community and continue with our oneg together, without having it being, on social media recorded. So Shabbat Shalom to those on Facebook, and the rest of us hang around. And we can visit with one another.